I never thought I'd smash a champagne flute into the crystal chandelier above the table, shards raining down like frozen tears on the white linen. But that's exactly what I did the night Victoria decided to play mother at my 30th birthday dinner. The room went silent, forks clattering like distant gunfire, as the bubbly sprayed across her designer blouse, ruining the pearl necklace she'd borrowed from my mother's jewelry box. And, in that split second, with her Botox-frozen face twisting in shock, I whispered the truth she'd buried for a decade. You can take her place in his bed, but you'll never erase the blood on his hands, or mine. It started 15 years ago in the rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn, back when I was just a wide-eyed kid clutching my mom's hand at a Yankees game, oblivious to the storm brewing in our brownstone. Dad was the golden boy of Wall Street, the kind of guy who closed deals over dry martinis and came home smelling like success and scotch. But Mom, she was the anchor, the one who baked apple pies from scratch and volunteered at the soup kitchen down on Flatbush, her laughter cutting through the city's endless grind like a summer breeze. They called her the heart of the family, and damn if she wasn't. But hearts break quietly, don't they? One night, after too many nights of Dad's late meetings, she confronted him in the kitchen, her voice steady as she laid out the hotel receipts she'd found crumpled in his suit pocket. He denied it at first, that classic charm turning to rage. And in the scuffle, the one I witnessed from the top of the stairs, frozen like a deer in headlights, he shoved her hard. She hit her head on the granite island, the crack echoing like a gunshot in my nightmares ever since. By morning, she was gone, ruled an accident by the coroner. But I knew better. Dad swore me to silence, tears in his eyes as he knelt before me. We protect our own. Elena. This stays in the family. And at 15, with the weight of his guilt crashing down, I nodded. I covered for him, lied to the cops, to the shrinks, to everyone. Because that's what daughters do, right? We carry the sins. Fast forward a decade, and here I was, Elena Vasquez, 30 today, staring down the barrel of another family facade in a swanky midtown steakhouse that Dad had booked to celebrate properly. The place reeked of old money, dark wood paneling, jazz humming low from hidden speakers, waiters in crisp whites gliding like ghosts. I'd flown in from Chicago, where I'd built a life scraping by as a freelance investigative journalist, chasing stories on corporate greed and crooked politicians because, hell, someone had to expose the lies. But New York always pulled me back, like a bad habit or a fresh wound. Dad had insisted on this dinner, his voice crackling over the phone with that forced joviality. It's your big 3-0, kiddo. Time to put the past behind us. Yeah, right. The past was the reason I slept with a .38 under my pillow and trusted exactly no one. Victoria was the wild card, the viper who'd slithered into our lives 2 years after Mom's accident. She was everything Mom wasn't, sharp as a stiletto, with cheekbones that could cut glass and a laugh like tinkling ice in a highball. Dad met her at some gala for the Met, where she was the curator of contemporary art, peddling million-dollar scribbles to hedge fund bros. She was 15 years his junior, but age was just a number when you had a penthouse on the Upper East Side and a Rolodex full of senators. They married in a hush-hush ceremony at City Hall, her in vintage Chanel, him looking like a man who dodged a bullet. Or so he thought. To me, she was the replacement part, the shiny new model installed to fix the cracks. But Victoria? She wanted to rewrite the warranty altogether. The restaurant buzzed with the clink of silverware and murmurs of the elite, guys in Tom Ford suits sealing deals over ribeyes, women with Louboutins dangling from their chairs like bait. Our table was tucked in a private alcove, velvet curtains half drawn for that illusion of intimacy. Dad sat at the head, his salt and pepper hair slicked back, tie loosened just enough to say, relaxed power player. He raised his glass when I arrived. All smiles. There's my girl. Look at you, Chicago suits you. But New York's calling you home. I forced a grin, sliding into the booth beside my brother,
Marco.
who'd flown in from LA with his latest startup pitch burning a hole in his laptop bag. Marco was the golden child, the one who'd inherited Dad's charm without the baggage, now hustling venture capital like it was oxygen. He clapped my shoulder, whispering, "You okay? Vic's been planning this like D-Day." And there she was, Victoria, perched like a queen across from me, her auburn hair swept into a chignon that screamed effortless elegance. She wore a silk blouse the color of Merlot, the kind that whispered money, and around her neck, God. The audacity, Mom's antique pearl choker, the one Dad had given her on their 10th anniversary. I'd recognize those lusterless orbs anywhere. They'd brush my cheek during bedtime stories, warm from Mom's skin. Victoria caught my stare and smiled. That porcelain-perfect curve of lips. "Elena, darling, happy birthday. I hope you don't mind. I thought this would be a nice touch. Your father said it was one of Isabella's favorites." Isabella. She said it like she owned the name, like she'd earned the right to roll it off her tongue. My stomach twisted, but I played cool, sipping my old-fashioned rye whiskey, bitters, a cherry stem twisted like a noose. "It's fine," I lied, because lies were our family currency. Dinner unfolded like a bad Broadway rehearsal, appetizers of oysters on the half-shell, Dad regaling us with tales of his latest merger, bought out the competition for pennies. Boys and girls, while Marco nodded along, eyes glazing over with dollar signs. Victoria played the gracious hostess, her hand fluttering to Dad's arm every few minutes, a subtle claim staking that made my skin crawl. She ordered for me filet mignon, medium rare, just like your mother preferred, and I bit back the retort, watching the blood pool on my plate like an accusation. Conversation skirted the edges of real life. Marco's app that revolutionizes gig economy tracking, my little articles that Dad dismissed with a chuckle, as if journalism was a phase I'd outgrow. But Victoria? She steered it masterfully, her questions laced with condescension. "Tell us more about Chicago."
Elena.
All that wind and grit must be a far cry from the sophistication here. "Do you ever miss the culture?" I met her gaze over the rim of my glass, the bourbon burning a path to the truth I'd swallowed years ago.
Miss it? Every damn day.
But admitting that would crack the dam, flood the table with the rot we'd all ignored. Instead, I pivoted. Culture's everywhere if you look. Like those hidden speakeasies in Wicker Park, reminds me of the old jazz dives Mom used to drag us to. Her smile faltered. Just a flicker. But I caught it. Score 1 for the ghost. As the entrees cleared, the tension thickened like the air before a thunderstorm. Dad signaled for dessert, and the waiter wheeled out a towering cake, 3 tiers of vanilla sponge frosted in buttercream roses, sparklers fizzing like fireworks on the 4th. "For my princess," Dad boomed, clapping like a kid at his own party. Marco hooped, pulling out his phone to film, but Victoria stood, smoothing her skirt with the poise of a presenter at the Tonys. She lifted a slice onto a china plate, the knife slicing clean through the layers, and approached me with it extended like an offering. "Elena," she said, voice honeyed and pitched for the whole alcove to hear. 30 is a milestone. A time to honor the women who've shaped us. Your mother would be so proud. But since she's not here, she paused, theatrical, placing the plate before me with a gentle hand on my shoulder. Allow me to step in. Happy birthday.
My dear.
To new beginnings. The restaurant's hum died. Forks hovered midair. A nearby table of brokers craned their necks.
Marcos shifted uncomfortably.
Dad's grin frozen like bad Botox. And me? Rage boiled up from that basement grave where I'd buried it, hot and viscous as the lava under Vesuvius. She wasn't just serving cake, she was coronating herself, erasing Mom's shadow with a swipe of frosting, positioning herself as the benevolent surrogate in front of God, family, and half of Manhattan's 1%ers. The pearls at her throat gleamed mockingly. Mom's pearls, worn like a trophy from a war she'd never fought. In that moment, the lie we'd all lived cracked wide open. And I saw it, the schemer behind the smile, the woman who'd whispered in Dad's ear for years, pushing him to move on, to rewrite history so her narrative fit. But she didn't know, I dug deeper than she thought. Last month, in a dingy Chicago archive, I'd uncovered the emails, Victoria, pre-marriage, tipping off Dad's rivals about his affairs. Not out of loyalty, but to position herself as the savior. And worse, the forged coroner's addendum sheet, arranged through a crooked contact, burying any whiff of foul play forever. She'd known about the shove. Hell, she'd profited from it. My hand closed around the stem of my champagne flute, the glass cool and fragile against my palm. New beginnings? I echoed, my voice carrying, low and lethal, slicing through the jazz like a siren. Heads turned. A socialite in the corner booth gasped audibly. Victoria's eyes widened fractionally, surprise. Not fear, as if she'd scripted this, but miscued my lines. I rose slowly, the chair scraping like nails on a chalkboard, and held her gaze. That's rich. Coming from you. But let's talk real beginnings, shall we? Like the one where you slid into our lives 2 years after Mom's accident, all sympathy and seduction, while Dad drowned in guilt. Or how about the emails you sent to his board? Anonymous tips about his instability, all to tank his stock just enough for you to swoop in as the steady hand. Dad's face drained of color, his fork clattering to the plate. Elena. What the hell? But I wasn't done. The flute shattered against the chandelier in a cascade of crystal and foam, the impact reverberating like a thunderclap. Bubbly arced through the air, splattering Victoria's blouse, the pearls scattering like escaped prisoners across the tablecloth. She recoiled, hand flying to her chest. A strangled "you little," escaping before she caught herself. Ever the performer. The room erupted, waiters converging, patrons murmuring, "Did you see that?" Phones whipping out to capture the meltdown. Marco grabbed my arm, hissing, "Sis, stop," but I shook him off, leaning in close to Victoria, my whisper for her ears only amid the chaos. You knew about the kitchen that night. You covered it up, forged the report. But here's the twist. Vic, you're not the only one with secrets. I have the originals.
And tonight?
I'm mailing them to the DA. With your name in lights. She blanched, the mask slipping fully now, revealing the fury beneath, a woman who'd clawed her way from a Jersey trailer park to Park Avenue. Not with love, but leverage. You wouldn't, she hissed back. But her eyes darted to Dad, calculating the flip. And that's when she did it, the ultimate pivot. In a voice pitched for drama, she clutched her throat, pearls dangling from one strand like a noose half-tied. Oh God. Elena, please. I only wanted to help. Your poor mother. The accident was so tragic. Tears welled.
Oscar-worthy.
As she turned to the gawking crowd, she's been through so much. Grief makes us all lash out. The tables turned in an instant. Murmurs shifted from shock to sympathy. The socialite cooing. Poor dear. Family trauma is the worst. Dad surged up, face thunderous, grabbing my elbow hard enough to bruise. Enough. We're leaving now. But as security hovered, I yanked free, heart pounding with the reckless high of exposure. This was revenge. Raw and unfiltered. The kind that didn't care about collateral. I'd split the family down the middle, Marco torn. Dad enraged. Victoria exposed but spinning. And as we stormed out into the neon-drenched night, rain slicking the sidewalks like tears on a grave, I wondered if I'd just avenged Mom or damned us all. The twist? In destroying her act, I'd lit the fuse on my own undoing. Because Victoria didn't climb that high without contingencies, and mine was about to blow. The cab ride back to Dad's penthouse was a war zone of silence shattered by accusations. Rain lashed the windows like accusatory fingers, the Brooklyn Bridge looming ahead as a steel skeleton under sodium lights. Dad sat ramrod straight in the jump seat, his jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding over the cabbie's classic rock radio, Springsteen wailing about Born to Run ghosts. Ironic as hell. Marco flanked me in the back, his hand hovering like he wanted to comfort but knew better, the scent of his cologne mixing with the stale leather and regret. Victoria? She'd stayed behind, playing the wounded dove to the restaurant crowd, no doubt already texting her PR fixer with spin scripts. Tragic family outburst, iconic curator caught in crossfire. Bitch moved fast. You're out of line. Elena, Dad finally erupted as we hit the Manhattan gridlock, his voice a low growl honed from boardroom battles. That was your birthday. For Christ's sake. And those accusations? Baseless. Victoria's been nothing but supportive. Supportive. The word hung there, bloated with bullshit. I stared at the back of his neck, the silver hairs curling like question marks. Supportive like bearing evidence, like gaslighting me at every holiday. Slipping Mom's recipes into conversations as if she'd invented them? Baseless. I shot back, my voice steady despite the adrenaline crash. I have the emails.
Dad. Timestamped.
From her old Hotmail account, concernfriend87@whatever.com. You think I chase leads on Enron whistleblowers for fun? I know how to dig. He twisted, eyes wild under the dash lights. A man cornered in his own empire.
They.
You're my daughter. Not some Woodward and Bernstein knockoff. This family's been through enough without you dredging up, he cut off, the word accident dying unspoken. Marco cleared his throat, ever the mediator. Guys, let's cool it. Elena, what emails? And Vic, did she really? I pulled out my phone, the screen glowing accusatory in the dim cab, scrolling to the forwarded chain I'd archived months ago. See for yourself. June 2010, Richard's unraveling, affair with junior associate. Unstable after wife's death. Advise caution on merger vote. Sent the day after Mom hit the floor.
She didn't just know, she weaponized it.
Tanked your stock dip. Position herself as the knight in shining Louboutins. Dad snatched the phone, his face scrolling from denial to dawning horror. The cab's brake lights painting him devil red. This can't be. But it was, and we both knew it. The shove replayed in my mind's eye. Mom's cry. The thud. Dad's panicked Isabella? Oh God. What did I do? I'd run down those stairs. 15 and feral. Shoving dish towels under the door to muffle the ambulance sirens we'd never call. Instead, a private doctor, Dad's golf buddy, pronounced it a slip in the tub. No autopsy needed for the right donation. I'd sign the waiver. My signature shaky as a kid's. Because he begged. For us. Elena. For Marco. We keep this quiet. Or it's all gone, the house. The college funds. Everything. And I'd shouldered it. The guilt a second skin. Fueling my move to Chicago. My nights pounding pavement for truths others buried. Journalism wasn't a career, it was penance. The penthouse door clicked shut behind us like a guillotine. The doorman's nod a distant memory. Dad poured scotch neat. 3 fingers in crystal tumblers that clinked like handcuffs. Marco paced the marble foyer. Phone buzzing with texts, probably Vic's damage control brigade. She's spinning it already, he muttered. Showing me a tweet from some gossip rag. Upper East Side meltdown. Art World Queen plays mom. Gets champagne shower from grieving daughter. Thoughts. Comments flooded in. Poor Victoria, boundaries. Girl. Versus, sounds like there's fire with that smoke. Already. The divide. I snatched a glass from Dad. The burn steadying my pulse. Let her spin. By morning, the DA's office gets the full packet, emails, the forged addendum from her contact at the ME's office. Even the bank transfers to the doc who rubber-stamped Mom's death cert. Dad slammed his glass down, amber sloshing like blood. You do that. And you take me down too. It was an accident. Elena, a goddamned push in the heat. No intent. No malice. Statutes run anyway. His eyes pleaded. The same ones that had broken me as a teen. We're Vasquez's. We protect our own. Marco stopped pacing. Face ashen. Wait, push.
Dad.
What the hell are you saying? The bomb dropped. And the room tilted. Marco. Oblivious all these years. Piecing it together, the hushed funerals, my sudden Chicago exile. Dad's generous buyout of Mom's life insurance that funded his empire rebuild. You covered it up? Both of you? And Elena, you knew? I nodded. The weight lifting and crushing anew. Since the night it happened. I was the lookout. The liar. The one who said she fell. Because family, right? Sarcasm dripped like the rain outside, pattering against the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park's black void. Marco sank onto the leather sectional, head in hands. Jesus. And Vic, she profited? That's betrayal on steroids. Dad rounded on me, voice cracking. This revenge of yours? It doesn't bring her back. It just guts us all. Victoria's not the villain, you are. For dredging this up now.
Villain.
The word stung. But it fit. I'd become the ghost haunting my own life. Chasing justice like a junkie after fix. But as the scotch warmed my veins, doubt crept in. Was this payback for Mom? Or for the girl I'd lost on those stairs? The buzzer shattered the standoff. Victoria, of course, sweeping in like a hurricane in a trench coat, her blouse still faintly stained. Makeup reapplied to war paint perfection. Richard, darling, she cooed, ignoring me entirely as she draped herself over him. Then to Marco, such a scene, I've called my publicist. We'll frame it as a cry for help. Cry for help? I laughed, bitter and barking. Or truth serum. Pack your bags. Vic. The originals are en route, FedEx. Time-stamped tonight. Her head snapped to me, the mask fracturing again. eyes like shards of emerald ice. You think you're the Avenger?
Cute.
But you forget, I know your skeletons too. She stepped closer. Voice of venomous purr. That Chicago byline? The one exposing the mayor's kickbacks?
Tip came from me.
And the fallout, the threats, the stalking, my doing, to keep you hooked, indebted. Pull this thread, and your career unravels. Who's the real puppet now? The room spun. Her words a gut punch. She played me, flipping from ally to adversary with the ease of a Wall Street trader shorting souls. Marco gaped. Dad looked gutted, torn between his empire and his eldest. Elena, he pleaded, drop it. For all of us. But the line was crossed. The revenge engine revved. I grabbed my coat, the door slamming behind me like finality.
Outside.
The city pulsed, horns blaring. Neon bleeding into puddles, a beast that devoured secrets. I'd started this fire. But as I hailed a cab to the airport, Victoria's whisper echoed, puppets. And in the twist of it all, I realized she was right. My public outburst had an end to her act. It had scripted the sequel, where I was the fall guy once more. Hours blurred into a red-eye flight, the hum of engines a lullaby for the damned. Chicago greeted me with its brutal wind off the lake, slicing through my thin jacket as I stumbled into my walk-up on the north side, peeling paint, radiator clanging like a heartbeat. The apartment was a shrine to solitude, stacks of manila folders on the formica table, a half-dead ficus from a forgotten date, walls papered with printouts of unsolved cases. I collapsed onto the futon, phone exploding with notifications, voicemails from Dad. We can fix this. Marco, call me, Vic's raging. And unknowns. Probably Vic's hired shadows. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of Mom's face fracturing like the chandelier. Her voice whispering, protect our own, or free us. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. Coffee brewing black as my mood. The FedEx confirmation pinged, delivered to the DA's office at 1 Hogan Place, Manhattan. Attachments included the emails, the forged report sourced from a whistleblower nurse who'd grown a conscience, and my affidavit sworn, notarized, detailing the shove, the cover-up, my complicity at 15. No immunity plea. I'd face charges too. Accessory after the fact. But fuck it, truth was the only currency left. By noon, my inbox lit up. Tips from reporters. Source confirms Vasquez patriarch under investigation. Family insider spills on accident cover-up. The Post ran it first. Wall Street King's dark secret. Push that killed wife. Daughter's champagne revenge. Photos from the dinner. Me mid-smash. Victoria mid-gasp, splashed across the digital front page. Twitter, or X as they called it now, was a battlefield. Vasquez scandal trending. Camps forming like armies at Gettysburg. Team Elena, finally. A woman torches the patriarchy. Go off. Queen. Team Victoria. Unhinged ingrate attacks innocent stepmom. Karma's a flute. And the neutrals. Dissecting like pundits. No one's clean here. Dead mom. Buried crime. Gold-digging curator. Who's the real monster? Marco called it one. Voice hoarse from what sounded like a bender. Sis. It's biblical. Dads hold up with lawyers. Stocks tanking 5%.
Vic?
She's lawyered up too. Claiming defamation. Emotional distress. Says you'll eat shit in court. I pace the linoleum. Lake Michigan's gray expanse mocking me from the fire escape. Good. Let it burn. But doubt not, had I avenged or annihilated. Mom's justice felt hollow against the fallout. Marco's startup imploding from association. Dad's legacy crumbling like bad mortar. And me? My editor texted. Hot tip. But tread light, your name's poison now.
Poison. Fitting.
The real twist hit that evening. A knock rattling my door like fate's fist. I peered through the peephole. Victoria. Alone. Trench coat belted tight. No entourage. Paranoia spiked. I gripped the .38 from the drawer, chambered around. What the fuck do you want? I called through the wood. Her reply, muffled but measured, to talk. No games. Or I walk. And your precious truth dies with me. Against every instinct. I cracked the door, chain taut. She stepped in, eyes scanning the chaos with curator's disdain, then faced me, unflinching. Truce. No smile. Just raw calculation. You think you exposed me? Darling, I wrote half your script. Those emails?
Bait.
I fed them to your contact at the archive, knowing you'd bite.
Why?
Leverage. Your dad's drowning, but I'm the life raft. He'll divorce you out of the will before he lets me sink. Lies? Truth? Her flip was masterful. Antagonist to confessor in a breath. Then why come here? She pulled a USB from her pocket, dangling it like a carrot. Because you're more like me than you know. That affidavit? It mentions the gun under your pillow. Self-defense story from a Chicago dealer. But DA's sniffing felony concealed carry. Drop the charges. I bury the gun trace. And one more thing. She leaned in, breath minty over the rot of betrayal. The real cover-up? Not your dad's shove. Mine. I was there that night, your mother's friend, the one tipping the affairs. I pushed her. Elena. Jealousy. Rage. She found out I was sleeping with Richard before the accident. He took the fall to protect me. You covered for the wrong monster. The world inverted. Mom's cry, not Dad's shove. But Victoria's hand, her nails raking air as Isabella tumbled. Dad's guilt, collateral, a shield for his mistress. I staggered back, the .38 clattering to the floor, her laugh soft and shattering. Twist enough? Now choose. Expose me, and we both fry, me for murder, you for accessory. Or join the flip, I walk. You get half the settlement when Dad crumbles. Family, right? The room closed in. Chicago's wind howling accusation. Revenge's climax wasn't the smash, it was this mirror, reflecting a villainess in my skin. No heroes here, just survivors scheming in the dark. And as she waited, pearls glinting like false teeth, I picked up the gun, decision dangling like her drive. Split the reader, mercy or murder, happy ending or the abyss we deserved. The USB burned a hole in my palm, its sleek black shell heavier than Pandora's box ever dreamed. Victoria watched me, poised on the edge of my sagging armchair like a shrink mid-session, her legs crossed at the ankles, etiquette amid Armageddon. The .38 lay between us on the coffee table. A brass serpent coiled beside my lukewarm mug of diner coffee, the apartment's fluorescent buzz underscoring the standoff.
Outside.
The city throbbed, sirens wailing distant blues. A neighbor's TV blaring ESPN highlights, Packers stomping the Bears. Ironic touchdown for the underdog. But here, no winners. Just wreckage. So, she prompted, voice silk over steel. What's it gonna be? Elena? Play the righteous avenger. Drag us all to Rikers for a circus trial? Or wise up?
Take the payout.
And let sleeping sins lie. Your mother's ghost won't thank you for orphans and orange jumpsuits. I laughed. A hollow bark that echoed off the water-stained ceiling.
Ghost.
If only. Mom haunted me not in sheets and chains, but in the quiet moments, the scent of her Chanel no. 5 on a crowded L train, the echo of her laugh in a street vendor's banter. She'd been the moral compass, the one who'd volunteer at Cabrini Green clinics while Dad schmoozed at Cipriani. Discovering Victoria's hand on the wheel? No, on Mom's back? It reframed everything. Dad's deference to her. The accidental marriage. My brother's blind loyalty. I'd avenged a lie. Shouldered guilt for a phantom crime. You pushed her, I said, tasting bile. For what? A corner office and a rock on your finger? She was pregnant. Vic. With your step-sibling. Did that factor into the math? Her facade cracked. Just a hairline fracture, eyes flickering to the window, where Lake Michigan churned black under sodium lamps. Pregnant. A pause. Then a shrug. American pragmatism masking the abyss. Collateral. Isabella was leaving him anyway, packing bags when I showed up to console. We argued. She lunged. I deflected. Self-defense.
Technically.
But Richard? He reframed it as a sin to bury mine. Chivalry or calculation, take your pick. Deflected. The words slithered, rewriting the thud in my memory, not malice, but mishap or masterful spin. She was a chameleon, flipping victim to villain with the grace of a Fox News anchor. And the emails? The stock play. I pressed, needing the full rot. Insurance, she admitted, leaning forward, elbows on knees like we were sorority sisters swapping secrets. I hedged my bets. If he folded under grief, I'd short the stock and bail. But he didn't. He built higher, with me as muse.
Win-win.
Until your little tantrum. Tantrum. My champagne smash. Now diminished to a hissy fit. Rage flickered. But exhaustion doused it. Jet lag and betrayal were a hell of a cocktail. I pocketed the USB. The drive's data a nuclear option. Bank records tying her to the doc's payoff. Voice memos of her coaching Dad on the slip narrative. Why tell me now? Why not let the DA roast you solo? She rose, smoothing her coat with manicured finality. Because you're the wild card. Elena. That public stunt? It split the board. Half want Dad out for scandal. Half rally round the family name. I need you to flip back. Testify it was all a drunken rant. Grief-fueled fiction. In return, you get 20 mil from the settlement when he steps down. Quietly. And the gun? Poof, my guy's license plates. Untraceable. 20 million. The number dangled. A lifeline to escape the freelance grind. The walk-ups leaks. The endless chase for catharsis. But at what cost? Mom's real killer walking free. Dad propped as the tragic widower. Marco none the wiser. The controversial crux. Justice or jackpot. No clean hands here. I'd lied for years. Profited from the silence via Dad's gifts. Was I any better? The door clicked shut behind her, leaving the .38's weight and my worrying mind. I didn't sleep. Instead,
I passé till dawn.
The city awakening with its grind, commuters herding like cattle, coffee carts steaming under awnings. By 7 a.m., I was on a train to O'Hare. Ticket to JFK punched for the red-eye back east. No, screw that. Direct confrontation. I texted Marco. Meet at the brownstone.
Noon. Truth time.
His reply pinged instant. On my way.
Dad too?
All in. The flight was a blur of turbulence and turbulence, air pockets mirroring my gut. Landing at LaGuardia. The autumn chill bit like regret. Yellow cabs honking a prodigal's welcome. The brownstone on Pacific Street stood sentinel. Its stoop swept clean. Window boxes blooming defiant mums against the gray. Mom's touch. Preserved like a diorama. Marco arrived first. Uber screeching curbside. His face haggard under aviators, LA tanned faded to pallor. He hugged me fierce, whispering, "You scared the shit out of me." Dad's en route. Vic's indisposed. Indisposed. Code for lawyering up in a spa suite. We settled in the parlor. The one with Mom's faded floral wallpaper and the mantel clock ticking accusations. Photos line the shelves. Family vacations to the Cape. Me gap-toothed at 8. Marco in his Little League uniform. Ghosts in gilt frames. Dad pulled up 10 minutes later. Bentley purring like a predator. Stepping out in cashmere and defeat. "Elena," he started. Door barely shut. "The lawyers say." "Save it." I cut him off. Standing by the fireplace. USB in one hand. A printout of Victoria's confession memo in the other, her words transcribed from our chat. Notarized via a quick app on the plane. "We're done with scripts. Victoria came to me last night. Spilled everything." Marco's eyes widened. Dad froze. Hand midway to his tie. I laid it out. Cold and clinical. The push, her push, the deflection. The cover as his sin. The emails as hedge fund fuckery. The gun trace as her leash. She's offering hush money. 20 mil to flip my testimony. Bury the DA packet. Says you'll step down. Settle with the board. And we all sail into the Hampton sunset. Silence stretched, thicker than the fog rolling off the East River. Marco broke it first. Voice cracking. "Mom. You let her die for this." Dad deflated onto the wingback. Head in hands. The Titan reduced to trembling. I didn't know it was her hand at first. Thought it was mine, the shove in the dark. She confessed weeks later. Begged me to frame it as accident. Said she'd leave if I didn't. I chose the lie. For stability. For you kids. Stability. The American dream's rotten core. Mansions over morality. Mergers over mourning. Marco lunged. Fists balled. You chose a killer over justice? And, Elena, you kept it? For what? Tuition and tears. I met his fury. Unflinching. For family. Same as you. Turning blind eye to the cracks. The argument erupted. A powder keg of pent-up grief. Marco accusing me of complicity. Dad defending with desperate pleas. We rebuild. Like always, me countering with the hypocrisy of it all. Victoria's play hung unspoken. The elephant in pearls. Take the deal. Or torch the dynasty. Phones buzzed. Board calls for Dad. Vic's text to Marco, "Darling. Let's talk privately." The climax crested as sirens wailed distant. Closing in like hounds, NYPD. Tipped by my anonymous DA forward?
No.
A neighbor's alert on the family disturbance. Cops at the door. Badges flashing. Mr. Vasquez? We need to talk about a certain report. Chaos. Dad cuffed for questioning. Marco lawyering frantic. Me silent amid the swirl. But the real high-wire act came post-raid. In the interrogation room's fluorescent hell, mirrored glass. Coffee like motor oil. DA's assistant, a sharp-eyed Latina named Reyes, slid across the table. MS. Vasquez, Your packet's gold. Murder 1 on the wife. Conspiracy on the missus. But your signature's on the waiver, accessory.
Plea?
Testify clean. We shave it to misdemeanor. Her eyes bored in. Or protect them. And you ride the wave. Victoria's offer echoed, 20 mil versus bars. The controversial drop. Flip for the system that buried Mom's autopsy. Or flip back for blood money. Readers split. Hero or hustler. I chose the gray. Sign the plea. Testified to the push. Victoria's, nailing her for second degree. Dad for obstruction. No jail for me. Probation. The gun surrendered. Settlement came quiet. 10 mil split 3 ways. Marco to his startup ashes. Dad to a subdued consultancy in Florida. Golf and ghosts. Victoria? 10 to 20 at Bedford Hills. Her flips finally fixed in stripes. But the twist, the debatable gut punch? In her cell block letters. Smuggled to me via a guard's pity. You think you won? That USB?
Dupe.
The real drives with a reporter, your Chicago byline. Fabricated. The mayor scandal? My setup. But the fall?
Yours.
Enjoy the spotlight. Avenger. Karma's bipartisan. Spotlight hit weeks later. Headlines screaming, daughter's revenge backfires. Fabricated scoop rocks journo world. My career cratered. Editors ghosting. Tips drying to dust. Was it her final flip? Or my hubris scripting the end?
Happy?
Tragic? You debate it over your next scotch. I live it. In a quieter Chicago now. Mom's pearls rest strung around my neck. The weight lighter, but the shadows longer. Revenge doesn't end acts. It just recasts the players. And in America's Grand Theater, we're all extras waiting for the director's cut.